So white men are now saying that they are being discriminated against. At least that's what our government is saying. They're being discriminated against in jobs, and that they should somehow get affirmative action. Now, they didn't like affirmative action for Black people, but apparently they like it for white people. So this is the article. This is from Media, and it says, "Are you a white male who has experienced discrimination? EEOC chair reaches out to DEI-related victims." This is all part of that whole DEI thing that the Trump folks started when they first went into office. But I think you have to watch the actual video that's in the article, and then we can talk.
I'm Andrea Lucas, chair of the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Are you a white male who's experienced discrimination at work based on your race or sex? You may have a claim to recover money under federal civil rights laws. Contact the EEOC as soon as possible. Time limits are typically strict for filing a claim. The EEOC is the federal agency charged with enforcing federal anti-discrimination law against businesses and other private sector employers. The EEOC is committed to identifying, attacking, and eliminating all forms of race and sex discrimination, including against white male applicants and employees. Check out eeoc.gov to learn more and read our one-page explainer about DEI-related discrimination.
Okay. Look, if I wasn't, excuse me, if I wasn't living through this, I wouldn't believe it. So that is the chair of the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Her name is Andrea Lucas, and she posted this video on social media. It was just this week, to reach out to white males who have experienced discrimination under past, or may have experienced discrimination under past administrations' implementation of diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. Now, it's not, they didn't reach out to Black people who are the victims of employment discrimination all the time. They didn't reach out to women who are the victims of employment discrimination all the time. We know that the number one beneficiary of diversity, equity, and inclusion are white women. But somehow Black people are left out of this. This is where this stems from, Donald Trump wanting to gain support, or listening at least to his, maybe his own lived experiences, or his own beliefs, I should say, or his advisors saying that white men are being discriminated against, or they need to capitalize on this sort grievance culture and do things like this. Do you remember, this was in the beginning of the administration, and we shouldn't be surprised by this. The beginning of the administration, when there was a helicopter and a plane, remember that midair collision in Washington, D.C., and they tried to blame it on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and there were no people, I don't believe there were any people of color involved, or the pilots, or any of it. I think the pilots were white men. But anywho, this we should have known, because this is what J.D. Vance came out of the gate. This was in January, not even a month. I think maybe a week or so in office, maybe 2 weeks, if that long. Watch.
If you go back to just some of the headlines over the past 10 years, you have many hundreds of people suing the government because they would like to be air traffic controllers, but they were turned away because of the color of their skin. That policy ends under Donald Trump's leadership, because safety is the first priority of our aviation industry.
Yeah. And so people, because of the color of their skin, they're seeing people now. You guys are out there. You tell me if you're in a job and you think that, and I'm not saying that white men can't be discriminated against on their job. Of course they can. Anyone can be. But if you look at historically and the actual statistics about who actually is discriminated against, what demographic group is discriminated against the most, who are the people who are discriminated against the most, it's not white men. White men usually have all the jobs, are usually in the leadership positions. They are the captains of industry. They're running companies. They're CEOs. They're the bosses at the restaurant. I go into restaurants all the time, and I see white men who are running the joint. And then you see a whole bunch of, let's just be honest, Latinos working, or Black people working in the jobs making the food, whether it's the burgers or the fries or the whatever it is. But this comes directly from Donald Trump, this whole idea of DEI. We're in a backwards society. Here he is.
We've ended the tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies all across the entire federal government and indeed the private sector and our military.
Yeah.
And our country will be woke no longer.
Which means that our country will be a white male. They're looking for a white male society. Let's just call it for what it is. That's what they want. Support for the show comes from Fatty15. I have been thinking more about aging lately, not in a freak out way, just paying attention. Sleep isn't always what it used to be. Energy dips. Things feel a little stiffer than before, and I have spent plenty of time and money trying to figure out what actually helps. That's why Fatty15 caught my attention. It's the first new essential fatty acid discovered in over 90 years. Real science, not hype. It was discovered by a doctor working with the U.S. Navy who found that aging dolphins were missing something called C15. Turns out a lot of humans are too. C15 helps protect and strengthen your cells. When cells get fragile, your body ages faster. That can affect sleep, joints, focus, and recovery. Most people notice benefits within just a few months. Better sleep, more steady energy, less stiffness. I've noticed better sleep and feeling more balanced during the day. It's vegan, patented, and more effective than fish oil. So go to fatty15.com/lemon. Use the code LEMON for 15% off of your 90-day starter kit. They'd like to erase people of color. And it's not just me saying that. I'm looking at the evidence there. They'd like to do it. Now, here's the issue. In this economy, this tanking economy, all Donald Trump's fault, the Trump administration's fault, the people who are losing jobs at a rapid pace, losing the most jobs, are Black women and Black men. Now, is it connected to this whole let's get rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion? One could only venture a guess that it is, especially if you're saying you're going to get rid of it. And then all of a sudden, in the unemployment numbers, you show the people who are affected the most negatively by it are Black men and women. I'm not just saying it. Steve Ratner on MS Now is saying it as well, as he is analyzing the latest job data just this week. Here it is.
So on unemployment, unemployment rate ticked up to 4.6%, and that's up from 3.4% in April of 2023 under the Biden administration. So you've had unemployment up here, the highest it's been since 2017. If you look at a couple of the subcategories of unemployment, one thing I noticed in these numbers is Black unemployment. Black unemployment is historically higher than white unemployment, but it has been spiking up this year to 8.3%, again, the highest it's been in almost a decade. And this is an interesting phenomenon.
An interesting phenomenon. And I think people need to study and examine that interesting phenomenon. Because if you have, back to the article now, if you have the government asserting and reaching out to really pushing and encouraging white men to sue if they believe that they have been victims of diversity, equity, and inclusion related discrimination. And then all of a sudden you have, now I know that proximity is not, or causality, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that it is, but one could only venture a guess when it is the highest, it says, in a decade. And you have this big push to get rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion. This push is a continuation of Trump's January 2025 executive order terminating all DEI offices and positions and programs, including equity action plans and equity-related grants. That is according to Notice. And so the chair of the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, Andrea Lewis, is now on a mission. It looks like the EEOC is on a mission to find evidence of something that I believe there's no evidence that it's there, that it is out of proportion or out of control. Everyone has somehow, in any demographic can be discriminated against. The EEOC is committed to identifying, attacking, and eliminating all race and sex discrimination, including against white male employees and applicants. We're in a backwards, upside down world if we are here, if you just want to be honest. Vice President J.D. Vance, of course, reposted Lucas's message to his nearly 5 million followers. He only has 5 million followers, by the way. Wow. Saying here, this is why the Trump administration has so dedicated itself to eradicating racist discrimination. We've eliminated funding, excuse me, for DEI. Require government grantees to certify that they're not engaged in DEI. Fired a number of DEI employees and asked the great Hammock K. Dillon to aggressively prosecute all forms of racial discrimination. These people, and that's J.D. Vance, these people are flat out and openly racist, and they don't care. J.D. Vance, I believe, is smart enough to realize it, but he doesn't care because right now, Donald Trump has given people permission to be bigots and racist, and it's showing up in the unemployment numbers for Black people.
Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a show. We're live every weekday at 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time with new clips dropping at 2 p. and 8 p. And if you want even more Don Lemon Show content, join the Lemon community. Members get exclusive posts, behind-the-scenes videos, and live chats just for you. So hit the join button or visit our channel page to sign up. Thanks again for all your love and your support, and I'll see you next time.